All right, John Hamm just hosted SNL. Let's talk about it. I'm your host and Saturday Night Live superfan, Jillian Borie. I live and breathe all things pop culture, and I'm seated on my couch every Saturday night, new episode or not. On this podcast, we share all of our hot takes and opinions on sketches, from the cold open all the way to the good nights. Join us as we discuss new and old episodes with a panel of SNL fans from all generations. Joining us today for our first episode of Cold Opens and Hot Takes are Alexandra and Victoria Rios, sisters by chance, SNL fans by choice. Thank you guys for being here.
Hi, we're so excited.
Yes, very excited to be here today.
So, before we get into our hot takes for the episode, I thought I could run us through some statistics from the episode. So, this is John Hamm's fourth time hosting, and he actually hasn't hosted since 2010. But he's made a lot of cameos, during that space. He actually mentioned in the monologue that he made 14 cameos in that time.
Yeah, so 2010 was before I started, regularly watching SNL, and I was so shocked to learn that he hadn't hosted since 2010 because, I feel like I always associate him with SNL.
Mm-hmm. I mean, 14 cameos is a lot, because he made one for, I know, Kristen Wiig's Five Timers Club episode, and he was a big part of the 50th. So I'm just so used to seeing him.
Well, I associate him with 30 Rock a lot because of he's on 30 Rock. So I associate him with Tina Fey, and I guess I was just oh yeah, he was a cast member. I knew he wasn't, but yeah.
But now let's kick this off, and before we deep dive into all of the sketches of the night, we're going to share our hot takes. And my hot take, of course, has to do with this episode's big controversy. In the White POTUS sketch, they made fun of White Lotus actress Amy Lou Wood's teeth, and she took to Instagram about being upset by it. And my hot take is, well, yes, it was a cheap shot at her appearance. I honestly don't think the joke was that bad or offensive. But of course, we will dive way deeper into this conversation when we get to that sketch in the lineup. Victoria, you want to share your hot take of the night?
My hot take of the night is that John Hamm really reminded me of Zachary Levi.
Yeah!
Not necessarily in a way, I don't know, just, yeah, his whole monologue, I was like, why is he doing a Zachary Levi impression? And then, yeah, I think that is just my hot take. The whole time I was like,
Interesting. I have to rewatch the episode now, with that in mind, because
Yeah.
that would never have occurred to me. Interesting.
yeah,
Alex?
no, it was yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
My hot take for the episode also kind of has to do with, the season. It's kind of my hot take for the season, and it's just that the 50th season, all of the weekend updates have been very unhinged, and I love it. But I feel like they've just lost all of the boundaries that they used to have while talking about things, and it's just been absolute peak this season.
Well, it's rumored that Michael Che is going to be leaving at the end of the season. He's been kind of dropping some little hints on his Instagram stories, and fans are kind of speculating. So that if he actually is leaving, that could lead to why the jokes have been so unhinged, especially with the last joke swap. I think that was the most unhinged one.
Absolutely.
We had. So maybe that kind of has to do with that. But let's kick off the night with our cold open. So as soon as, it was the Jesus and the Apostles, and they went into freeze frame, and James Austin Johnson came out as Trump. And as soon as I started, I was just wait, deja vu, I have seen this before. And it's because they did basically this exact same cold open when Timothy Chalamet hosted with the Founding Fathers and Lin-Manuel Miranda, where, Trump was kind of rambling nonsense and everyone in the back was in a freeze frame. And it wasn't a bad cold open. It was a recycled idea, which is fine. But the fact that we got a better version of it this year already, it's just
Yeah.
Yeah, I do really like the concept of the cold open because it's Trump is just interrupting history, which feels like exactly what's happening. So I think that that's really clever. But yeah, I agree. I think the other one was better.
Yeah, I gotta say, I was relieved when they went into a freeze frame because I did not want to sit through jokes about the church or anything. I was this feels not the best. But then that happened, and I was oh, okay, great, yeah.
Fine. You're thank God Trump showed up.
the first time in our
Only
lives.
ever time, and it's only the James Austin Johnson. I don't know how he does such a good impersonation. Like, I forget that it's James Austin Johnson.
Listen, no one does a better Trump impression than me. I do the best Trump impression in the history of all Trump impressions. I'm going to put a tariff on his impression. His impression is nowhere as good as mine. That's my secret party trick. I actually pulled it out I was with friends over the weekend up at college, and I met her, like, college friend group who's never met me before, and I don't remember what happened, but all of a sudden I just start pulling out my Trump impression, and they were all like, where did you find this girl?
Whoa.
Yeah. So like he looks and sounds so much like him. And when he starts making jokes and makes the like his castmates break and stuff, it always like reminds me that it's James Austin Johnson because I just always forget.
I really like the neck prosthetic.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Little turtleneck.
Yeah,
Not
it's
turtle, turkey.
really good. It's really good.
So now we're gonna move on to the monologue, which I thought it was, very funny, silly, Now I see Zachary Levi. But, I like because this reminded me of something I would say when they showed like the big like montage of clips of him and he goes, I love watching myself. I was like, me too. I get it. And, I like that when he was talking about cameos that Kieran Culkin appeared and made a cameo. I thought that was like a fun little cameo, but it was very short, simple. I mean, it showed his appreciation for SNL, but this isn't like a monologue that stood out to me.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I can't. I'm struggling to pull any like jokes that stood out. I don't really remember much of it.
The only thing he really said was like Mad Men is better than Succession while talking to Kieran Culkin.
He also asked for Kieran Culkin's Oscar.
Yeah.
But now, after the monologue, we have our first sketch of the night, which was the Check to Check Business Channel. And I thought this was such a weak start.
What?
I thought this was a really weak start.
Oh my god.
This is my favorite live sketch.
Me too.
What? This is why this is a hot take show, guys.
Wow.
I don't know, like the premise of the sketch was that people living check to check aren't affected by the stock market and the bonds, but are more impacted by like grocery store prices, so they need alternatives. It just, I don't know, to me it felt like a little bit like too long. It was the same joke over and over again. And another thing is like coming off last week's episode with Jack Black where every sketch was like a hit, 10 out of 10. There was a lot to live up to. So I think that maybe is also what did it for me is that, last week's episode was so good and this I didn't think it was a bad sketch. I just didn't think it should have been the first of the night.
That's, I think, a fair assumption or a fair point. Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I really liked it. I thought it was really funny. Every joke hit for me as somebody that lives check to check.
I did like the Funko Pop joke with
Oh,
Andrew
God.
Dismukes being like, yes, I sold this Funko Pop for this much, but I also just bought 3 more rare ones for like $2,000.
That is exactly my best friend from college. So I very much related to that one being like, that's not how that works. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I thought the what was Uncle Bubble instead of Perrier water from France was really funny. I thought that those products, I think that Eggo is so funny, and I'm so glad that they're like finding her niche now because I feel like it's taken them a really
She's been on the show for so long.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially like last week after her like weekend update where she accidentally made the crowd say like mene and shit. And they also referenced that like 2 separate times in this episode. They referenced that during, James Austin Johnson was like, oh, Eggy, mene, what? And he goes, no. And then in the weekend update, they made like another joke about that too. I think it was Bo and Yang.
Yeah.
I do wonder if they got fined. They must have, right?
I mean, yeah, she said, well, she didn't say it, but
well, right. It was the audience, so
It was
who
the
pays the
audience.
fine?
Yeah.
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
they can't find Lin-Manuel Miranda for everything. I wish they could, but I don't know. I guess, I don't think they're struggling for money there at NBC.
That's true.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
maybe
just-
after the big 50th with all those cameos, maybe they are struggling for money, but I guess I don't really know how like the censorship works for that because I know that in the recorded version that they like later uploaded for streaming, they bleeped it out. So I don't know. That's definitely something we should like look into and research and like we'll talk about that next episode once we find our answers on who pays that fine. Imagine they go around to the audience and go, everyone put $5 in the
Yeah, I
back.
was gonna
Yeah,
say,
literally.
on their way out, they're like $5,
Collection
please.
plate.
We also take Venmo and Zelle.
Because I know Jenny Slate, she got fired and fined
Yeah.
because she, I think, said the F word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was in her first episode.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, yeah, so that-
Well, she messed up.
We're going to move on to our first pre-recorded sketch of the night, which was a video by Please Don't Destroy, and which I think is one of the best additions to modern SNL. And normally we don't get them this early in the episode. Normally they're very much so towards the end, or they'll get cut for time. So I was like, oh, okay. And I really like sketches with just the most random, silly premises. So that's why I thought it was great how they were just doing this investigation on this missing girl. And John Hamm goes, oh, what? Pizza party? Okay, I'm down. And he had a lot of really good... Pizza? He had a lot of good one-liners that he, like, said under his breath. Like, I'm not a kid.
Not a baby.
Not everyone was invited to my birthday party at Dave & Buster's. And when, you know, the mom came in being like, have you found my daughter? And he's like, we're looking for your dog right now. And they're like, no, it's a missing person. He goes, oh my God, why are we planning a sleepover right now? We should be looking for this girl. And the sheriff is like, there is no sleepover. There's no slumber party. Also, I ordered 6 Hawaiian pizzas, which nobody wants.
Okay, I was gonna ask, what's your opinion on Hawaiian pizza, pineapple on pizza?
I am the pickiest eater to ever
Okay.
exist in the
Sure.
whole wide
Yeah.
world. If it is not plain cheese pizza, get it away from me.
Okay.
And I stand by that.
No,
I stand by that.
That's fair. I personally love it. I think the like tang of pineapple complements the tomato sauce very well.
You're the according to the sketch, you are in the minority
Oh,
because everyone hates it and does not want it.
See, I think maybe that's why I couldn't relate to the sketch as much because I was like,
Well, you can
Hawaiian
re-
pizza, that sounds great.
Well, you can relate to Ben's character, who you
Yeah.
know ordered all of those Hawaiian pizzas.
So the addition of Please Don't Destroy, like the casting of them plus the casting of Sarah Sherman, really like to me indicates the like shift that SNL was going to, I think, try to do, where they became more of like an Adult Swim type of show. And it was really, really clear to me for like, how long has Sarah been on the show? 3 years now?
Yeah, Sarah's been on the show for about, I'd say, 3 years.
It was really clear to me when they first hired her and with the type of content that she makes online. And then they hired Please Don't Destroy, which
my
are also
favorite
like
Nepo
that.
babies.
Yeah, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, so what's happening here is that they're going to sort of phase out the sketches. Like, I thought it was really going to become mostly digital shorts.
I don't
and
think
that
they'd
sort of
ever
thing.
do that. I don't think they'd ever do that. I mean, we typically get like 2
But
pre-tapes max.
when it
Like,
was like first coming back from COVID, it was a lot more like filmed and they weren't doing as much live. And so
Yeah.
I think they were trying to gauge like if the impacts of COVID were going to force them to change the way that they do the show. But then they realized that they could go back to doing it normally. So, but I definitely think that that addition of them did indicate that.
Well, because the other thing is the digital shorts do so much better online than the sketches do that it seemed like they thought that was going to be better revenue for them.
I mean, even if we go back to the early 2000s with The Lonely Island,
Exactly.
you know, Dick in the Box, I'm on a Boat, all of those things which have now become like,
Punching people right as they're about to eat.
they've all become like cultural phenomenons. So it's definitely kind of trying to, I don't want to say recapture that energy because they're, Please Don't Destroy and Lonely Island are very different, but definitely kind of, I want to say almost pay homage, you know, to like
Oh,
the
definitely.
best, like the pre-recorded sketches of earlier times and now. Because I just overall, I thought this one was really funny. I really liked the idea of it.
I normally don't find them that funny because something that I find consistent with the Please Don't Destroy videos is that they don't give enough time for a joke to land. They either try to fit too many jokes in, and so it's just like bang, 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 bang without letting any of them land. Because like, you know, when they were talking about like, oh, you got half Hawaiian, there's 30 of us here, they were all yelling, and then like a gun went off, like, and someone like shot the gun, and it was like, oh, whoa, sorry, I shouldn't have done that. It was like, they didn't let the joke land of like, half Hawaiian is obviously ridiculous for a big group of people that didn't agree on that. And then another thing happened, and it like just like, whoa.
See, I don't know. I really like the fast-paced energy because a lot of times with the live sketches, you can't go as bow, 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 bow.
Yes.
So I really like that with the Please Don't Destroy, there's just this, that, that. And, you know, it makes you kind of want to go back and rewatch it. I don't know. I'm a huge Please Don't Destroy fan, you know, since the first time they came on with like the seltzer sketch, the hard seltzer one, which is still to this day one of my favorites. Have you guys never seen that?
I don't
I'm sure
think
I've seen
so.
it. I think I don't remember.
I'll have to show it to you afterwards. But that was their first like appearance on SNL, and I was like, oh, these boys are good. They are.
Well,
good.
it does. The joke density kind of reminds me of 30 Rock a lot. Because 30 Rock is very similar. It's just like 30 jokes a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And then moving on to our next sketch, which was Guess the Correct Answer. I always go into game show sketches just a little bit weary because sometimes they are cop-out sketches, you know, like, hey, I have this idea, but I don't know what to do with it. Let's put it into a game show. And not to bring up the Jack Black episode once again, but we had a really good game show sketch with Jack Black last week. And the week before when Mikey Madison hosted, we also had a game show sketch with her. So this is 3 in a row. And those 2 were really good. And this one just kind of fell a little flat, you know.
Yeah.
I did appreciate how right off the bat, the host, you know, who's Michael Longfellow, was like, listen, I don't like the name of the show either. You know, we're like, why is this the name?
I love Michael Longfellow.
Oh, I love
He's
Michael
so
Longfellow.
wonderful. I think he's such a great new cast member to have, and I think that him doing like the game show persona and vibe is so correct. And
Well,
yeah.
And we finally have someone that like fills the Bill Hader
Yes.
role.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
I mean, every single SNL cast member obviously is irreplaceable, but you know
But
they have
we have
they
the
have
vibes.
tropes that
we have the
they
vibe.
that they cast for, and nobody has filled the Bill Hader role in a really long time. So I'm glad we have somebody at least to do the game shows.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But I think my biggest problem with this specific sketch was how they gave it away immediately with John Hamm being like, oh, I hope I don't say something embarrassing or
Yeah.
problematic.
Yeah.
And then he goes on to say something embarrassing and problematic. Like, we knew where it was going to go. There was no escalation. It was just him saying like problematic stuff and us being like, ha ha, why is he saying that? Those aren't the answers.
That was literally me coming into this podcast. I was like, I hope I don't say something cancelable. Anyway.
But that's the thing. If we had, you know, as soon as I introduced you, you went, oh, I hope I don't say something cancelable. And then like 2 seconds later, you say something cancelable.
Right.
Then it's like, oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, it would be different if like he was like visibly nervous and like he didn't say that, but then like, you know, it's obviously this like white man who could have talked about like being respectable, but not like, oh no, I hope I don't get canceled. And then like, you know, the first thing is microaggressions. And I think it would have been funnier if he had to describe the stuff rather than guess.
Oh, I completely agree.
I agree with that.
Because him trying so hard to not be canceled and describe microaggressions as a white man in
Like, it's
power
him-
would have been so funny.
Oh my, like him giving examples or like,
Yes.
oh, see that
Me
would
when I
be-
touch hair without without asking. Like, yeah.
But I completely agree with that. If they had flipped it and it was Mikey Day being like, dude, you can't say that. Because Mikey Day is always the character that's like, what is happening? You know? So I think if they had flipped the roles on that,
Yeah.
that could have completely saved it.
Yeah.
I
definitely agree that it fell flat.
Or even if it had been like, he's like, oh, I'm a white man, so I got to make sure that I'm not canceled. And then immediately starts like at 10. Yeah,
Yeah.
immediately starts like saying things about Nazis or something.
where he's like, you know, my kids prepped me, you know, they wanted to make sure I don't embarrass them on live TV. You know, that's the thing, because he went straight into, hope I don't say something problematic and get canceled. And it's like, great, that's the whole sketch. We know
Yeah.
what's going to happen. We know exactly what is going to happen bit for bit.
Yeah.
And then it was time for our next sketch, which was another pre-recorded one, which was the sketch of the night, White POTUS. So, which it's honestly such a shame that there's such a controversy around it surrounding the teeth thing, because other than that, it was hilarious.
Yeah, it's really strong.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
just the cameos alone should have been what went viral. We had
Yes.
we had 2 of my all-time favorite cast members back. We had Beck Bennett as Putin and Alex Moffat back as Eric Trump. And they, like I said, they were 2 of my all-time favorites. So seeing them back on my screen,
Yeah.
I was so
I
excited.
don't think I realized that was Alex Moffat.
Yeah.
Back
oh
as
my
Eric
God,
Trump.
he was back.
Yeah. Well, as soon as I
Wow.
saw Beck Bennett, I went, Beck!
See, and that's the thing. No one's talking about this because it's
Yeah.
so overshadowed by the teeth thing. We also had a cameo by Scarlett Johansson.
Scarlett.
Yeah.
And Lizzo was there. And, you know, the best part of this sketch, I think, was that I've never seen an episode of White Lotus.
Same.
But I still laughed at every joke here, and I was able to understand and appreciate the sketch and get the vibes of it. So, because sometimes when you do a parody of something, it's like, oh, well, I haven't seen the original. This isn't really that enjoyable for me. I was like, I know the premise of White Lotus, but I've never seen an episode, but I still loved this sketch.
Yeah. Yeah, I've also never seen an episode of White Lotus, but I was able, there were a couple things where I was like, that's probably funny, but
Yeah, I mean, the cinematography alone, I was like, this is way too good for SNL.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, it was really beautiful. It was the one shot, I think, where Donald Trump is in the king shirt.
Yeah.
And they're just like the slow zoom of him just so miserable in that king shirt. I was
And
like,
you know the
this
pill,
is so good.
the pill bottle with like a burger coming out of it.
Yes.
I was like, okay, so I'm guessing the dad in the show is like a pill popper, and that's kind of what they're paying homage to. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just a guess.
clue.
But oh, you have something? Was that?
No, I was gonna transfer to the controversy, but you were probably about to do that.
I was
so,
just
yeah.
about to do that.
I'll throw it to you, Jillian.
Now, on to the teeth controversy. So, the joke was just that RFK is going to remove fluoride from the drinking water, and then it showed Sarah Sherman portraying Amy Lou Wood's teeth, which they don't fit the typical American beauty standard for teeth, you know. Her main problem with the sketch, which is understandable, is that everyone else was a political character and not her. Hers was just like referencing to her, and she was like, I don't have bad teeth. Like, I just have a gap and an overbite. And I will, say, I can completely understand, like, yeah, that's hurtful, they're coming at your image. But the thing is, at the very beginning of the night in the cold open, there was a line about Trump goes, oh, I'm so in shape, the shape I am in is lump. And trust me, no one likes making fun of Trump more than me. I love making fun of Trump. It is one of my favorite hobbies to do. But I'm just wondering, like, so it's fine that we make fun of, his body shape, but not, Amy's teeth. What is the guidelines for whose appearance we can make fun of? Is it if they're a bad person, we can make fun of their appearance, no problem. But if they're, a nice, sweet, good person who's not evil, then, we stay away. It's just, where do we draw the line in comedy? And I'm not saying that what they said was a nice thing, because it wasn't. Making fun of someone is never nice, but that's also a big thing in comedy, is poking fun at someone. And that whole sketch was poking fun at all these politicians. And it was, the only reason they brought her teeth into it was because it was a thing about fluoride.
Right, the joke was on RFK.
Yeah.
And then I will also say the joke is on British people.
Yes.
Like that is the stereotype, is that British people have bad teeth.
And
Yeah.
like I said earlier, her teeth, they just don't fit the American beauty standard. So it was an easy joke. And that's a big thing that Americans have, is like, we're very into like veneers and braces and all that stuff. That's a big part of our culture. And, British people aren't that focused on it. So it's always been a big joke with Americans that British people have bad teeth.
Right.
I will say, I agree that it was not funny because, like, I don't think it was necessary for them to have her when everyone else was, like, a political character. They could have made it, like, a British politician or something instead of just being her. And also, the teeth that they had were ridiculous, which I know is part of the point. But if they had just had, like, the gap or whatever, I feel like it would have been less severe and less, like, thing. But I feel like also, like, Sarah Sherman just took it slightly too far in what the joke was, and it lost the like, the joke is about fluoride, not about.
I would say, though, that you're saying, they over-exaggerated the teeth. I think that was to honestly make it less offensive, because if they did her exact teeth to a T, then that is specifically targeting her. But if they over-exaggerate it and make it bigger than life, then it's like, okay, this is clearly a parody. Like, we're going the extra mile, going over. And the thing is, I do think, like, since it is a White Lotus parody, like, having an actual, like, cast, like a person from White Lotus in there, like, can work. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I just didn't really laugh at it. I just didn't think it was that funny. It is kind of a cheap shot. It feels a little bit lazy as well, but I'm
Maybe
not
that's
like
what it is.
offended.
Yeah.
But I am like, all right.
I just
Yeah.
like, my big thing with this is that since it was created into such a controversy, like I said,
It's
you didn't even
ruined the
realize it was Alex Moffat. We didn't have enough time to appreciate that Beck Bennett was back, that Scarlett Johansson was there.
Yeah.
And it was just the rest of it was so beautifully written.
Yeah, it was a really good,
And
really
it
good
just
sketch.
sucks that, now the only thing people are talking about with this sketch is the teeth controversy. And
It's also like, not that they've never done this before, but maybe the rule is like you can't make fun of somebody that hasn't been on the show.
Ah.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because like if
They
you're
could've-
making fun of someone that's a friend of the show,
Okay, kind of like, because she is a relatively new actress. I know she's
Right.
been in Sex
She doesn't have to
Education,
host, but,
you
like,
know,
They
White
could have
Lotus.
even had her
I
come
know
on and
that's
play
what I was
herself
gonna
and be
say.
like,
But then I was
"What's
like, maybe that's
fluoride?"
even worse.
No, I think that would have been fine because then she's like in,
In
on
on
the
it.
joke.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I can understand that.
I can understand her being like, hey, I didn't think that was funny. But to like make a bigger deal out of it than it was just like a joke about British teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, topical.
Yeah. So I do agree that it's unfortunate that that skit and that sketch has like become something.
Also, now that I'm in front of a microphone, I can say this. My biggest pet peeve is when someone says skit instead of sketch. I was literally
Okay, you don't understand. My brain cannot sometimes differentiate between skit and sketch, and I say sketch all the time, and it's
Sketch.
horrible. So I if I ever say skit, I will correct to sketch. But
That's because I noticed you
It-
doing it. I was like,
it's just to me avoid saying sketch because that's not even a word.
to our audience listening at home, if you are wondering the difference between a skit and a sketch, sketch comedy, it's more of what you see on SNL. A skit is more like live theater and improv, like an improv skit. So we
Like
can
youth
go,
group does a skit.
we can go more. We can have a whole podcast just on the difference between like skit and sketch. But then we took our first comedy break. We had Lizzo's first performance, and then it was time for Weekend Update. And I love Weekend Update. One of my favorite parts of the night. You know, like we said, Colin Jost and Michael Che, they have great chemistry. We have a bunch of jokes about the current political climate and events of the world. And I just want to know, what did you guys think about their jokes before the correspondence came on? Did you have anything stand out?
I didn't take a lot of notes on the jokes of Weekend Update.
I know that I
Just-
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Me too.
I always enjoy it. Nothing particularly stood out, but that's not saying that like, oh, nothing stood out. They were just like all well
Written.
thought out and well written that I didn't have like a particular one. I was just watching and enjoying,
That's
honestly, instead of taking notes on that part of it.
That's like me too, because I just realized I was like, oh, I didn't even write any notes about the jokes because I was doing the same. That's like whenever it comes time to Weekend Update, I love to just sit and hear
That is
it.
when I am sad.
Exactly. But I do always take notes on the correspondence, and the first one we had is Bowen Yang as Chinese Trade Minister Chen Bao. And this was his first appearance of the episode, which is wild. I feel
Whoa.
like he was
know.
wildly underutilized in that
Yeah.
episode. But in this bit, he was kind of just giving like sassy diva, like I don't want to negotiate with you. And like I said, this is where we got our reference to Bowen referencing like ego, being like men ain't what. But I don't know. I really like this. I think he's done this character before.
I love Bowen's correspondent characters. I think they're always great. I love when he was the iceberg from Titanic.
One
It's
of
my
his best.
loved
favorite.
when he was the hippo with
Oh, the
what's
like
the-
Mudeng one,
Yes.
which that had a whole Chapel Roan controversy where people were like, he's making fun of Chapel Roan, and literally
Yeah.
Chapel Roan was just on his podcast.
literally,
Like, they're chill.
literally,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're
But
chill.
then that also goes back to friend of the podcast making fun of like that like doesn't cross that line and like the same. But anyway, yeah, I love Bowen's correspondent bits. I think he's so good, and I think that that's a place where he really shines on SNL.
Yes.
Do we think that he will take over Weekend Update?
A lot of people are thinking Michael Longfellow for taking over for Weekend Update because he
Oh,
kind of gives like
yeah.
a Norm Macdonald vibe. He's like if Norm Macdonald and Bill Hader had a love child.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, I agree with
And
that
then
completely.
some people want him to co-host with Emil Wakim, who is our second correspondent. He's
Yeah.
currently a featured player, and I don't feel good about that because especially like his first Weekend Update, which was earlier in the season. This is his first season on, and this first one was a little underwhelming, and this was just more of the same of kind of doing like a little stand-up set about his thoughts of being an immigrant in America. I just don't. I don't think they've had him on Update as a character, just like on Update
just
as Emil Wakim. And I don't know that his jokes land every time.
Interesting.
No, I didn't think his bits landed. I was kind of sitting there like,
And
that's so funny to
And
me.
that's why it was the first time he was on Update too.
It's my favorite when someone comes on the Weekend Update and does a little stand-up.
Yeah.
It's my favorite. So
I
I don't
like that. I just didn't like his.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because the first time we saw Marcelo Hernandez on Weekend Update, he crushed it. I mean, it was his first season. He came on, he did that little stand-up thing about baseball, and the crowd loved. He instantly became a fan favorite, and it was clear and evident in that
I
moment.
love Marcelo.
Oh, I love Marcelo. Guys, he's up. My lock screen is literally a selfie of me and Marcelo Hernandez. Like,
Yeah.
that is my man. That is
Yeah.
my man.
Yeah.
Trust. But I just thought, I was like, the first time Emil did the stand-up, and it was relatively the same thing, didn't work as much. Like, didn't really work that well. This is more the same. Don't think it worked that well either.
Yeah.
I think, because we just had Ashley Padilla just made her Weekend Update debut, where she played a couple episodes ago, where she played Joanne from Joanne's Fabrics. And I loved her as a character. That's like,
Yes.
because sometimes when you go on Update and you're yourself, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Like we
Like,
had
I
Devin
even-
Walker last weekend, and his was funny because he like said to Che, he was like, "You don't show up to work," and he did like the little like the Saratoga ice water thing, like that worked.
I even loved when Jane Wickline came on and did the song about like Sabrina Carpenter wanting people to think that she's gay.
Yeah.
That's so funny. And so I do like when they come on and if they're a character or if they're themselves and doing like some stand-up stuff. For me, it just with Emil, it didn't land.
I agree. And then we actually, normally it's just like 2 correspondents, but I guess we had extra time because we had 3 correspondents in this episode, because then we had Sarah Sherman come on as Colin's accountant. And my favorite part of Update, my favorite bit, a joke that will always land, is making fun of Colin Jost.
Yeah.
I will always, always, always be a fan of that.
That's literally, I love Sarah Sherman making fun of Colin, is a note that I have about Update.
My favorite little niche genre of SNL, just like those, like, have you ever been on YouTube and you see those videos? It's like the SNL cast roasting Colin Jost for 37 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, making fun of Colin will always land for me. I always find it funny.
But he's so good at taking it.
Right.
He never tries to be like defensive or go up against it. Like he's always such a team player with it. He'll always read the stuff on the cue cards that he obviously has not seen before, and then like he'll read it and do it and then be like, "Oh my god, did I just say that?"
Even like, because I mean, he's the head writer, so
Yeah, so he's seen it.
He's definitely seen like Sarah Sherman's jokes. He honestly, I don't know who wrote like which sketches of the night, but I'm sure he's written jokes about himself and like given it to someone and been like, hey, read this, read this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then after Weekend Update, we had the adopted parents sketch, which I thought was great and should have been much higher up in the show lineup. I was so surprised.
Is Bowen and John Hamm, they come in with the baby and their whole
I thought you said adopted parents, and I don't remember that. Adoptive.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, that's a great
It was
sketch.
so funny.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was one of those just like random absurd ones where, you know, Heidi Gardner, she was like, we saw you guys yesterday. You didn't have a baby. Now you do. Where did you get it?
Wow.
My favorite.
You can't ask a gay couple that.
My favorite thing is Bowen is holding the baby, and when he goes to put it down, he like just one hand puts it down, and it's so.
I mean, there were just like some really funny one-liners in that. Like, we didn't steal her. She stole us.
We like to think she stole us. Yeah.
It's like, great, now where did you get this baby from? And that was,
Ask us that.
that's like, I think my only problem with it was the ending. I did not like Lizzo as the baby.
No, why did they do that?
It took me out of the sketch for some reason. I wish we didn't show the baby at all, because then it's like, that kind of completely moves where the sketch was heading.
I wonder if it's like a contract thing. Like she had to have a cameo.
But she made her
But
cameo
she did
earlier.
in White POTUS.
Oh, yeah.
You just
All right,
didn't recognize her.
Yeah, sure, maybe.
What do you mean? Lizzo was Lizzo. How did you not recognize her?
No, just because she's in the wrong context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I wish we would have had like a different ending. Like, because we had all that escalation and it led to nowhere. I wish like someone had burst through the door and they were like, "That's my baby." And John Hamm was like, "Finders keepers."
Yeah.
And I just,
Perfect.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, I would have loved an ending like that where we know where they got the baby from and also where the baby was not Lizzo.
Yeah.
So that's my only qualm with the sketch. Other than that, I think it was perfect. And like I said, I really wish it was higher up in the show lineup.
Yeah.
But that's just me. And then we had the herpes ad, which was poking fun at medicine commercials, which isn't a new idea. You know, there have been so many. There was Heroin AM. There was, I mean, there has been 1,000,005 medicine commercial sketches, but I liked how this one kind of focused on like the aspect of like if you find yourself rock climbing in slow motion or dancing at an outdoor barbecue or hanging out with a group of interracial friends, you have herpes.
I thought it was so funny because I feel like in recent months, medical commercials have like skyrocketed again. I feel like I'm seeing so much more of them in like, because you know we used to see them all the time when like cable TV was a big thing, and they kind of faded into the background a little bit, and I feel like there's been a recent resurgence of how often they are. So to see them like pick up on that and bring that to SNL,
Like,
I thought was
especially
so funny.
the line where it's like, if you find yourself in a big musical number in an office, you have diabetes.
I
And
was just
like,
about to say
and
that.
my brain like instantly went to that commercial, and I was
Yeah,
like,
the
oh.
angle
Also-
that was like so. That was like an exact replica of the Ozempic commercials. I thought that was so funny.
It reminds me also of that Michael Bublé music video where he's like dancing in the grocery store. I'm like, oh, I should have seen it coming.
But I thought this was like, oh my God, Michael Bublé has diabetes.
Yeah.
Aw.
Oh,
But
sorry,
no, he
Michael.
doesn't. We don't lie on this podcast. He might.
Sorry.
I don't know. I don't know.
It's a joke.
It's a joke, Michael. Take a joke. Which, speaking of Michael Bublé, crazy that I didn't bring this up yet. One of my all-time favorite sketches is with John Hamm and Michael Bublé, where John Hamm like kidnaps Michael Bublé and he's singing. He's like, he's locked me in a tower. I've been here for this.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of my all-time favorites. So
That's also so good.
it's so crazy how we somehow Michael Bublé got brought up into conversation. It all leads back to John Hamm hosting
Yeah.
SNL.
Yeah.
All roads lead back to the ham. But then the last sketch was the Icebreakers sketch, which, you know, we've all had to do icebreakers and we've heard some out-of-pocket ones. And, you know, listen, when I met Alex for the first time, I had to do an icebreaker with her, which, speaking of that, my go-to icebreaker is that Flo Rida brought me up on stage to perform with him.
We know.
For everyone listening at home, I bring this up about 17 times a week, as many times as I can. That's like when I first met Alex, we were doing an icebreaker thing, and that was my icebreaker, but then I just kept mentioning it.
This is also the first thing I learned about Jillian secondhand from Alexandra,
Yep.
who told me, oh, I met a friend, blah, blah, blah. Did you know Flo Rida brought her up on stage?
And so much so that one week our trivia team name was Flo Rida so that she could bring it up to the new people on the trivia team.
I'd like to mention that was the first time we ever won trivia.
It is.
So, but I was writing down some notes, and I was like, now how can I incorporate Flo Rida bringing me up on stage into this podcast? And I did it because that was a great icebreaker. I mean, it's not as intense as my mom killing my dad naked on TV,
Yeah.
but you know, one thing I really liked about the sketch was, I will say, Ashley Padilla's character, Susan,
Yeah.
and how, you know, after John Hamm said this like crazy out-of-pocket like icebreaker that his mom killed his dad naked on TV, she was like, pass. Like like two truths and a lie. Like I'm a woman, you know, my name is Janet. And they're like, your name is Susan.
Yes, you're right, it is.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, I think she's a great addition to the cast. I really liked her panicked answers. But other than that, I was just kind of like...
John Hamm for me was the weak link in
Yeah.
this
In the
sketch.
episode. Oh, in
well,
the...
in the sketch, but also in the episode.
Yeah.
It feels like there's a reason he hasn't hosted since 2010, and it feels like the comedy on the show has kind of like evolved past what he thrives in.
Here's the thing about John Hamm. I'm going to give my John Hamm... Why am I doing... I don't want to do that. Here's the thing about John Hamm. This is my John Hamm hot take. John Hamm is like such a like weirdo, like hard to place actor because he's classically handsome and he's got this like really like strange off the wall like comedy that he really thrives in. And so his career hasn't really like skyrocketed the way that people thought it was going to back in like 2011. And I think it's because there's only one role that he can do, or one role that like he should do, and that's the 1960s Batman. I think they should remake the 1960s Batman with John Hamm as Batman.
Oh my god, I would at least love to see a sketch of him as 1960s Batman with Andrew Desmukes as his Robin.
Thank you so much. I couldn't figure out the Robin.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's Andrew
It's-
Desmukes.
it's-
I think, frankly, I think we should put Andrew Dismukes everywhere all the
Oh
time.
my God, yes. Andrew Desmukes everywhere all the time. Yeah.
I love him. I love him very much. Honestly, I've never seen the 1960s version of Batman, so I
All right, well, stop the pod.
and this is where it ends. But I think, because this was our last sketch of the night, so now we're just going to talk about our overall opinions. And for me, which was so hard is that, because sometimes when you have a host that's like a different age range than the cast members, it's kind of, oh, how do we, fit them in here? So you do get a lot of like office type things with like different age ranges. But I think my biggest thing was that the Jack Black episode, this is, I think, my third or fourth time bringing it up. But like I said, it was so strong. And then going into this and just having, because sometimes it's the writing, sometimes it's, the actual hosts themselves. So it's kind of hard to place, where it was. Overall, I would say this episode was fine,
Totally.
This was not, I don't think it was the big return after, not hosting since 2010 that everyone was hoping for.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping because, as you know, if you host 5 times, you enter the 5 Timers Club, you get a jacket. Hopefully, it's not another 10 years, and because he has a lot of connections with, a lot of people, so he could definitely get a lot of cameos in for that one. I mean, he pulled in Kieran Culkin for this one. Maybe, because he's down to do anything, so I'm thinking maybe the next episode he hosts just kind of needs a little more oomph to it.
Maybe that's what was missing it was like all new people since the last time he's hosted, and there wasn't anyone from like that
Oh,
era
yeah,
of
he didn't really
SNL
have any
that was like cameo.
rapport.
I mean, there was Kenan Thompson, but everyone's been on when Kenan Thompson is hosted.
That's
Kenan
true.
Thompson has been. It was funny because they mentioned. Here I go again, bringing up the Jack Black episode. I promise, Jack Black.
We're gonna have a counter.
We're gonna have a
in the
counter.
corner.
I promise Jack Black did not pay me to say this, but like, because it had been 20 years since Jack Black had hosted last.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And the episode he hosted was one of Keenan's first episodes, and now Keenan is still there. But that's the thing, Jack Black hadn't been on in a while, and he had great rapport with all the cast members. And I just think that John Hamm thrives in absurdity comedy.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think some of these were a little too, like...
Grounded.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think they, if some of them were a little more off the wall, crazy. And, like, I really like the idea of, in the answer, him giving the hints and that being the premise of it.
And that would have brought that absurdity and changed the dynamic of their roles and let Mikey Day also shine.
Yes.
Yeah.
In
Because,
what
like,
he shines in well.
And Please Don't Destroy, we saw the absurdity. We saw the craziness that, like, they're trying to solve the case of the missing girl, and he's like,
Pizza?
slumber party, hello. And then in the, the one with the baby where they're like, you can't ask us that. Like, the absurdity of it is great, but, like, the last one, the icebreaker one, is just like, oh, I got a crazy fact. And then we were just kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
So the next episode we have is on May 3rd with host Quinta Brunson and musical guest Benson Boone. And I am personally so excited for this episode. I love Quinta. She had her start in comedy. For Abbott Elementary, she has that great comedy to her. She's hosted before, and she was really good. And also, I am a brand new Benson Boone fan.
Really?
Recently, he's kind of started. He brought Brian May out at Coachella, and I was like,
He has another song?
No, he just sings the one song, then he does a backflip, and everyone's like,
listen, can you do a backflip?
yeah.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you cannot.
Yeah, I can.
Do it right now.
Just,
Well, I can't do it now. There's not
See?
enough room.
I don't know. That sounds like something someone who doesn't know how to do a backflip would say.
I'm actually very educated on backflips, and that's why I know there's not enough room in here.
Okay, Simone Biles. But he has this new song coming out. It's been all over TikTok where he's like, Moonbeam ice cream. Bow, 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 bow. And me and my friend just we'll like send each other voice notes of us just singing it back and forth. I don't know why.
Love
but
that.
that's the thing. I mean, I want to see a backflip on the SNL stage,
Oh, I do think that will happen.
Oh, absolutely,
Multiple times.
Yes, or because Benson Boone, he's really funny. I mean, he'll post a lot of like TikToks. That's the thing. That's why I'm starting to become a fan because he'll post like little like funny TikToks. Like I saw he commented on like someone's TikTok. Someone was like, Benson Boone, like, what is a moonbeam ice cream? And he goes, I don't know. I just thought it sounded cool. And I feel like he would be very down if they asked him to do, like, a cameo somewhere.
Definitely.
And because recently Marcelo Hernandez, like, played Benson Boone.
Yeah, he did.
So maybe something like that. But I'm really, really looking forward to the May 3rd episode.
Yes, I think that that's definitely going to be stellar. Quinta, so funny. And I do think Benson Boone is going to be a great team player. I have nothing against him. I just wanted to take a crack at his having one song.
All right. So if you guys are also excited for the episode, make sure that you tune in for when we do our hot take show about it, because that is all we have for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and make sure to keep on laughing till the next one.
Thanks for having us, Jillian.
Yeah, this was so fun. Thank you.